I need the mute. Okay, I can go here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to BHH Live number 71.
Surprising how many.
I can't believe it's 71 episodes. Yeah, we haven't even scratched the surface of all the stuff we have to get through in this wonderful world of a history we're not taught anymore. So take it away, Arnie B. These are all Welsh fiddle songs. Special welcome to Gavin Lloyd, first on this week. Henod, good evening all. Good evening. Hoylan ap Iddon, it's a good Welsh name. Alright, straight into the question. If there are no historical references by Britons calling themselves Celts until the era peer-reviewed deception, I believe the answer is yes. Well, there we are, that's a good start. We'll get on to that, the Celts. Very nice. What's that called?
Erfigan I Pibedd Goch.
Very good. The Red Piper's Elegy, apparently.
From this book, we are not sponsored or endorsed.
No, we're not sponsored or endorsed.
Just this book.
We have got a book of Welsh fiddle songs, I think it's called.
Yeah, you think so. Or like,
yeah, that's exactly what it's called. Welsh fiddle tunes.
It has some Irish and Scottish stuff.
Some Irish and Scots, more Celtic music. Oh, did I say Celtic? Oh dear, my mistake. Right, we're going to be going through it again. We go through 100 times, so I won't be saying much about, the Celts being a load of nonsense, that the Welsh were ever Celts, or the Scots, or the Irish, okay? So if you're new to this, we'll crack on. Just a quick welcome. What happened is, there used to be a history taught in Britain that was accepted for hundreds of years, hundreds of years. It's in all the textbooks, all the published works. And then, I thought, I used to say, when the Hanoverians came in, there was a rewrite. But I think the rewrite really got going about 1670s, 1680s, when history was just recreated and changed. That's the new one. That's what we all get taught in schools. And it's filtered through universities and the media and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really difficult to get your head round at first that this is not our authentic history. It's a new version that was invented a few hundred years ago. Okay? So what we try and do is look at the old records, what used to be taught, and see, does it check out? Do the ancient, checking ancient monuments, written sources, and the amazing thing is, yes, it seems to check out extremely well. And what doesn't check out under closer scrutiny is the current, what's called history. Stuff you read in a book and you assume is correct, and it turns out, no. Very little, if any of it's correct. And I don't want to spend too much longer on the Romans, because the last 2 weeks now, I've been banging on about Gibbon, and I was just floating some ideas, how it all seemed very strange to me, about Gibbon's Decline and Fall. It's an important book. Baboon, yes. It's a very strange book when you start to look closer at it, and that forms a bit of a bedrock to what was this whole idea of a Roman Britain. And thank you, I had a few people send me information, fascinating insights, but I seem to hit on something bigger than I thought, and it does tie in with the Celts. So as last week we're going to be on this Roman subject, and we'll have a bit of a change next week, so I'm open to suggestions. I was going to propose a bit more about the Babylonian star maps and how you can see that in the British countryside through the hills, the maps, the place names, and we've got some more firm links to share. And I'm going to be putting a new film up soon about that, alright? So say hello to a few more people, give people a chance to log in, because I can see the numbers going up all the time. Just give the people, hello Meg W, Amelia. Yeah, if you are new, you're very welcome. You go straight in, try and explain, but most people come week after week, and I'm incredibly thankful and grateful and a bit amazed. And I think you'll find, if you follow the chat, a lot of people come to chat with each other about the subjects. We keep to the subjects, but that's all good, all right? So it's something's going right. People come back week after week as part of... I know for me, I love seeing all the names and people I know and friends, and I would say most of my friends these days have been made through the Britain's Hidden History work, and looking at the fans of Wilson and Blackett and all this kind of stuff. So great. So come along. Right, who we got? Patricia's here, brilliant, all the way from Canada. We've got Mark Manning, Kate from Cardiff, Hugh Evans, good to see you, Hugh. Richard DJ, oh, loads and loads and loads of people. Right, so, hey Ross, can you crank up the volume, please? I wonder if this microphone's working properly. Hang on. Because I recorded the video for my rugby club earlier. I don't think this is on. So where's the sound
No,
going
I can
to?
hear it. I can hear it.
We can hear it, but it's not
It
coming through
sounds
this
like the
microphone.
It's the same clarity. It doesn't sound grainy.
It's not coming through this. I'm not convinced this microphone's working.
Oh.
I don't know what's picking me up. I don't know where the sound would.
Might be the camera.
It could be coming through the camera.
Oh,
Thank you
the
for
microphone's
asking
good
for
then.
me to change the.
Is it any?
Yes, go on. See if you can change that.
Well, it's pretty good then. The camera microphone. It sounds quite clear.
It sounds quite clear. All right.
It might be a bit
No,
loud.
hang on a second. My 10-year-old technical expert. No, says microphone. Please, Snooble. I think you might have to turn up on your computer, and I'll go a little bit nearer to the microphone.
What's
Okay.
the saber and thingamajig?
Uh-oh. We're going to go quiet for a few seconds. Okay.
Fly.
All right. Okay. I don't know if that's any better or louder.
Try that. Actually,
And I'm sorry I'm not smart this week as well. I got comments about my hair and my fancy shirt and everything, and I realise, yes, you do have to spend a lot of time looking at me, and I should make more of an effort. So I'm nice and clean shaved and smiley face, but I do need to work on my general appearance. Right, not something I usually bother too much. All right, I think the mic's working better now. Okay, I can't see the comments. Right, okay, let's get back to the comments. I got loads of good news as well. So what I normally do, if you're new to the programme, I'll go through some of the news and updates of this week, and then the main subject, okay? Oh gosh, we got so many comments on here, I can't keep up. Australia, Canada, New Zealand, crazy now, a few other places. Funny you should mention New Zealand, because one of them, another hidden history, another controversial one, and I'm going to be speaking to Tim, and I do apologise again to Tim Wilcox. We're trying to do this week, but couldn't quite get it together, so hopefully tomorrow I'm going to record a chat with Tim, and what we're going to be talking about then is some of New Zealand's hidden history, which reminds me, I have to put one more thing in here a second, while I'm talking to you, not distracting myself, and that is you've got there at the moment. It's controversial because the Maoris are making a big fuss about they want to change the name of New Zealand to, oh god, I'll get it wrong, Areatua, the Maori name, and they want their heritage to be more respected because they're the indigenous people, okay, and therefore they should get rights to everything and taxes on air, water, everything else. Right, unfortunately, I'm not able to upload that picture while I'm talking, it's too difficult. Whereas there is the Watea, a tribe before them, who the Maoris have only been there since 14th century, and the British turned up 18th century, so it's only a few hundred years before, and the Maoris have quite brutally destroyed the native populations, even pursuing them in the 1830s across the Chatham Island and places like that. So I'm not trying to I've dived straight in with the politics. That's the problem with doing things live. Because I don't want to concentrate on the politics, but a lot more about who these Wataiha are, and what's the story there. Because it's a similar sort of thing there. There's a history that can't be discussed because it doesn't fit with the political narrative. All right, same problem we have in America. So you'll see some American videos where nothing pre-Columbus can be European or something. Okay, so there we are. Keep coming back for my singing. Thank you, William. Of all the reasons that people come back, I think that's the least likely, but it's very nice of you to say so. What else we got here? The Maori 50%. Anyway, let's go on to New Zealand politics right now. All right, I'm already almost 20 minutes in, so I need to whiz in and I try and get this down because I keep talking too long. Right, there's a blank page coming up soon because I didn't put the picture up in time. All right, let's see if this works. Hockey dokey. So there we go. I mean, if you followed this channel for a while, the weird thing is I don't think people who've been reading Wilson and Blackett and looking at this for a while are going to find this headline as much of a shock, particularly the one about the Celts being in Britain, okay? But I think which is remarkable, because I think anybody who's never been on this channel, what do you mean, Roman Britain is invented? That's the conclusion I'm coming to. I'm going even further than Wilson and Blackett took it. They talk about we got the wrong impression of it. And that... anyway, we'll follow on that theme when we get to it, okay? But we can take it a bit further, I think, and actually look at... It's even worse than Wilson and Blackett thought. A bit like the carbon dating and that kind of thing. They point out that it's fudged by 20%. I take it further and say it's fudged completely, carbon dating. But anyway, another subject. Right, so first things first. Thank you, everybody. I am absolutely stunned and over the moon. That's a football cliche. I'm over the moon. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah, you can. Good. Well, you can. Arnie can't because he's watching something else, but that's all right.
No, I've got them both open. So I can
Got
see
them
comments.
both open.
So I can see comments and I can hear both.
Yeah. Good to see you all over this, Arnie. Right, okay. So what I need to do is find the window I have open so we can see the latest. Right, the fundraiser roll of drums. Go away, Microsoft Edge, whatever you are. Right. Look at this. Wilson and Blackett's new chimney. And refresh the page.
Wow.
Yes, did we get to £800? Yes, smashed it. Well done, everyone. £1,224.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Brilliant. So what we can do now, I can get that damn chimney fixed. I didn't want to talk too much in detail this one, but just as important, there's a bit of guttering. What do they call it? The plumbers, they give it a nice name. A dirt pipe or something like that. Just an upstairs loo, put it that way, which leaks. Not nice. So we get that done at the same time, and also the whole house is going to be gone through by industrial cleaners. That's a horrible word. You know, professional cleaners, all the kit. Make the place nice for them. Maybe get some more furniture as well. So the whole lot's going to go, plus more. But brilliant. So thank you very much, everyone. I just want to say as well as that total, 1224. Hang on, why hasn't it gone straight to show mode? Here we go. There's also £90 received in cash transfers and checks that be sent directly to me. So I make that 1,314, which is brilliant. Makes a huge difference. Massive help to their quality of life. Wilson and Black, if you don't know, brilliant writers. They're the historians who saved British history. It was lying on the floor. Well, not what's the analogy I usually use? They were hanging off the ledge. They've been shoved off the ledge, and they were hanging on by their fingernails before Wilson and Blackett found them, reached down and picked it back up again. And now it's our job to keep it going for the next generation, all right? So well done, everyone, for that. I'm going to close this. Right, this is why I need to remember to do this. At the end of the show. So the link is in the description. If you do want to contribute, there's still time. Just about. And I'm going to bring that to an end. And I'm going to get the work done start next week. Which is good news, isn't it? Oh, how to put new sliding on. Right, okay, let's put that there. Hang on, make sure I come back to the end, otherwise I'll forget. I'm sorry, I'm not as organised today. I've been incredibly busy the last week. It's been manic, and today as well. We had rugby this morning. Arnie was playing, so if he starts nodding off, he's had a very long day. We had a family get together a bit late yesterday evening, and Arnie's playing a rugby match. We were there at 10 o'clock, weren't we, wherever it was. Right, and he had a good game, so there we are. Done well. Tough guy in there. Tough guy on the rugby field. Right, okay, so brilliant for that. That's all good news. And I'll bring up dates and pictures, and you can see the work that's done, all that kind of stuff. So you can see the money's well spent. So brilliant, thank you. Right, any more comments coming through? I can't see all the way over there. Can you try and bring it a bit nearer? Right, this is one which Philip Avery Brown mentioned last week, and I haven't had much response. I'm really surprised. I thought there'd be tons of response for this. So I'm going to ask once again, everybody, please, if you could think, I'm going to be meeting Alan again soon, and this is your chance. If you had, say, 2 questions for Alan Wilson, what would they be? It could be anything. You might not get an answer, but you can ask anything you like, okay? I can't, it's too small. My eyes aren't good enough. So what we'll do, hang on, let's see that. Just from the comments. Necessary to report. I hope the donations give WB some sense of genuine care and support. Thank you, William. Yes, I think so. A few things get, suppose Australia's in big trouble right now. 2, Ross, give me a ticking off for talking politics. Yeah, I will, yes. Let's not get into politics. Because in this world we live in, you get shut down for talking politics. So it's not because I disagree, agree, or anything. It's enough trouble already. You think with Wilson and Blackett's work, we got the new book out, which is going well. So if you want to buy a copy, it's for sale. Where Jesus is Buried, which sort of blows the myth of the Roman church and the mainstream church completely. And it shows you that Christianity actually began in Britain. And I'm going to be dipping into that book again this evening. So that's the church upset. Then we got the royal family, I suppose, by showing there is a historical British royal family, King Arthur and all that. And then there's Robert's book, Architecture of Power, showing how corrupt the 17th century was. Who else? Draw a list of all the major powers you don't really want to be upsetting. I think we've upset all of them, so let's not give an excuse to be shut down, eh? Because for reasons I do not understand, and I know people are going to surmise on the comments, why this history is just written out and verboten, I don't know. I know why they did it, I don't know why they still do it. Right, this is the blank. This is what I'm supposed to drop the picture in. And what I'm going to do, hang on, let's go back to, I wanted to show, I hope you joined the conversation. They had a good discussion with Rob, David, and John Pitcher earlier in the week, which was a Battle of Baden. We'll do more on King Arthur, okay? We'll do more on King Arthur soon. So I'm just going to show, the way I can do this, I can't get the images up in time, is to share like this. So here goes this one, right? Where was King Arthur's Battle of Baden? There's going to be some follow-up ones on that. And the good news is I have had other people contribute information. So Bob Morgan wasn't in the first one, but now he is. Lego is going to be in the next one. I've had Richard Evans send more information about Baden being in North Wales, perhaps. So you can see the 4 faces there. I hope it's big enough for you to see. Let's go a little bit larger, get an idea.
This is the only site where you've got these links. These people were alive at the same time as King Arthur too, and their names are in the landscape. So around this battle site. Now you don't have that with any of the other sites that I'm aware of.
So there you go. I'll just give you a little flavour of it, okay? So I hope you watch that one. I think it's cracking discussion. And I think everyone who's watched it got really good feedback. Okay, now big news. Well, big news for me. A little bit. And for anybody in America who wants to buy a copy of Cymroglyphics, CIFA have published it. It's now available. It's on their website.
And
it's
it looks
live.
very serious and dictionary.
It does look very serious, doesn't it?
Looks very much like a proper dictionary.
Thanks, Al. Looks like a proper writer's done it. It's a hardback. It's got that beautiful gold leaf. They're going to send me copies to look at. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm really chuffed. And the price works out. It's about the same in America. You get the hardback and everything. So look into that. The link again in the description, all right? So let's hope that does well. And to support this launch, I've got a number of videos. The one I keep hoping to come up every week is the one I did a presentation in Megalithomania last in May the 8th. And that, because this is Wilson and Black, let's make it clear, okay? They're the ones who cracked how to read Egyptian hieroglyphs using the Welsh language. It's a long story why and everything it works. And what I've done is produce a book where you can do it just to show you how you can do it. As I always say, you get a copy of Moses in the Hieroglyphs or Trojan War, and you can see how Wilson and Blackett translate. And you go, wow, that's amazing they did that. And on my book, you go, oh, actually, I can do that. That's the only difference, okay? It's just me trying to communicate what they did. So there you go. So please get your copies of that. And yeah, so there we go. Very exciting. So let's hope we can keep spreading the word. Right, okay. I hope the other video I hope you watched this week, and I'm getting more feedback on, was, you got my head in the corner. That's a shame. Hang on, Arnie. Can you just, can I just see what this button does? I'm trying to see on your computer what this button does. Try and get my head off it. No, it doesn't. 4. Hang on a sec. We've got a massive lag. Yeah. That's betting. I'm going to lose my face for a minute. I just want you to see the full thing.
Does anyone care about losing your face?
I think people prefer to lose my face. Thank you, Arnie. That's nice, isn't it? So I did this little painting of Richard and that because Richard Hall's been brilliant. He's been a long supporter of Wilson Blackett for years and years and years. It was through his channel I first found out about Wilson and Blackett. I know lots of people on here find out through Richard Hall as well. So we got back in touch and great. We got some plans which will be forthcoming. Can't talk about just yet, but for now, please enjoy the video. It's 42 minutes long. And another thing I want to mention about this, I've got a few other special videos coming up, such as great, it's not there. God, what is wrong with me tonight? I'm just not with it. I remember uploading the graphic. Okay. Yes, out of order, that's all it was.
Oh yeah, that's a cool graphic. I like that one.
Thank you, Anne. That's a cool graphic, says Arnie. There you go, the slides are out of order, that's all. This is what I want to put up. And now, what I want to get some feedback on, what we did with the last one, sorry, slow down, Ross. People can't understand what you're saying, is that there's a function on YouTube whereby you can put videos, load them up as a premiere, it's called. And what the premiere means is that you can get a countdown to let you know when the video's going live. And the idea is very much like tonight, where we're watching this video together live and can share comments. We can do the same thing with a pre-recorded video. So that's what we did. Tried it for the first time last week with Richard Hall's video. And we had, it's a new idea, but I still think we peaked over 100 people online at one time. I think it's about that. And then the same with the Baden one. It was a recorded conversation, and I put it on as a premiere. And I think it's a good idea. And I watch it as well with everybody, and I join in the comments. So it's almost like live. I think it's a good idea. So look out for those. And what you can do then is click on it, and it'll give you a countdown, and then we can have chat like we're doing tonight. So I think it went down well, the last one. The whole feedback was pretty good. And Richard makes great films, and it was really nice of him to more or less donate this film, really. He made it for Baden, and it's been sitting there a couple of years, and he said, right, he's giving it to me stroke Wilson and Blackett to use. So that was cool. Okay, so this one, just give you a little bit of a heads up. I think people are going to love this. This is probably more pop than all the other stuff. Again, it's from Wilson and Blackett's work. Well, this is from unpublished work, okay, from their notes. Put together this video. Some of it is quite mind-blowing, all to do with the history of the universe, planets moving out of orbit, and some of the knowledge. That's John. Let's see who that is. Right, there's enough clues on the screen to work out who the bloke on the left is. Give you a few seconds, but anyway, he was writing in 1740, something like that. And one of the things he did was describe the moons of Saturn and Jupiter. I think it's Saturn in particular, which were unknown in that period. There's no telescopes could see it. So how on earth did he know? And just as fascinatingly, all this time ties all the way back. That's Jonathan Swift. You've probably guessed it by now. I'm sure someone has. That this ancient knowledge about the planets was known. And these stories are known. And the other thing which is fascinating is, I'm sure you all know the basics of the Gulliver's Travels, where he goes to different lands, like Land Lilliput, and the people arguing or fighting a war of which end of a boiled egg you should open, all this kind of stuff. There's stuff in there which Wilson and Blackett sees, and as soon as you see it, you go, yeah, that's obvious. It's obvious, except none of us have seen it, and all the millions and millions of people who've read those books have seen it. And I think that's the true definition of genius, is when you can see the obvious thing that everyone else has missed. I keep trying harder and harder to think of these things and think, how does Alan Wilson spot this? And there must be other things I can spot. So look out for that one. I might do it again on Wednesday. That's a difficult day this week. So look out for it anyway. It's going to be coming up soon as a premiere, right? And trust me, you will not be disappointed on this one. Because it also ties in then with the Mabinogi stories, and again, more and more about how the Mabinogi actually are stories about planets and stars and pulses Saturn and all this kind of jazz, okay? Right, what are the comments we got on here? A second. Oh. Yep. Ah, that's right. Jupiter's moons. Thank you, Patricia. How did Jonathan Swift know about Jupiter's moons? How indeed. Impossible, isn't it? What is the evidence that we're on the right timeline? Oh, don't get me onto timelines. I mean, if we're looking at new chronology and all that kind of stuff. Wow, some heavy stuff. Blackadder. What's Alan's... Oh, Graham. What's Alan's thoughts on animals and humans being buried at these sacred sites? Right, see, there's a good question I can ask Alan Wilson. I don't know his views on that. I will ask. If I had a pen, it'd be even better. Well, I only got a pen. Please. That's my mother's joke. My father was called Denzel. She used to say, have you got a pen, Den? No, I've got or a pencil, Denzel. All right. I know. It's a good joke, isn't it, really? Unless your name's Denzel, you're the only person in the world who can make that joke, you see. Or your husband is. Right, Graham, I shall ask. Graham's down again in South Wales. We had a great walk up yesterday. Up to, what do you call it? The Polestar Stones in St. Gael. We had a video, a bit more about that, show more about it. Graham applying his special skills and abilities to work out things about sites. And then a farmer kicked us off. Which is a little bit disappointing. I thought we did actually have permission yesterday. Was a mistake somewhere. Right, so please, any more questions? Look out for questions on there, aren't you? Okay. Yep. When is this new book out, Ross? Oh, the one in America. That's now. I mean, I put that up to show it's launched. It's the same book. It's Cameroglyphics. It's just out now. Okay. Lord of the Rings 2. We're having it. I just saw right. Okay. Let's jump on from that. Let's get on to this a second. Okay, on to the main thing, as it were. Not so much news this week. There are other things. By the time I put all those down, I'm not going to get anywhere, and I really have to try and finish something like on time this week. All these 1 hour shows seem to be about 90 minutes long, usually. I like to get that down a bit, especially on school nights. My tired boys get up early to play rugby. Right, anyway, so this is episode 71. Right, now, this is going to take things a little bit further. I'll do the Romans first. Is Roman... do you know, I'm really starting to think, and I can't show it completely yet. I'm starting to think the whole... not that Roman Britain is exaggerated, but that the whole idea of there ever being a Roman Britain is just a myth. It's an absolute myth. And the only possible exception, I would say, to that, the grains, that kernel of truth, I should say, is probably around about the time of Claudius, when there does seem to have been some sort of invasion then, and it maybe got a bit of the toehold of southern Britain, which would be, what's that, about 54, 55 AD roughly, isn't it? If these timelines are correct. But let's go with the timeline we got for the time being, alright? Because it starts to get too much for one brain and one program otherwise. So, and then, according to Wilson and Blackett, there was the big peace treaty about 126, round about then, with Hadrian, who came over, and there was an agreement signed between the Romans, and this is the other question, I'll do this air quotes, which I know is tacky, and I don't like people doing it, but I'm doing it to emphasise the fact, what are Romans? What does it mean? Are we talking about Italian supermen, or are we talking about... I'm starting to think it's a bit like the East India Company. You know, it's ostensibly from one country, but it's kind of not really. So anyway, let's come on to that now, okay? And then I'll do a little bit about the Celts, which I think most people or regulars on here will know about. I've just got a few maps to show, a little bit funny, just to break things up a bit. Okay. Yeah, sorry, this is not very pretty. There are lots of pictures coming up, okay? So one of the comments, Chris Carey made this comment on last week's video, and I thought it was a great comment, right? So we've assumed, and he's talking about ancient Rome, okay? as in response to my video talking about is Gibbon a load of nonsense. Anyway, with assumed widespread reading and writing, it's absolutely amazing that we don't have hundreds of bona fide copies of imperial Roman scrolls, histories, cookbooks, technology manuals, speeches, dirty jokes, etc. He's absolutely right. There's no fragments or anything, you know. I mean, and it's not just the age thing. You consider, ancient scrolls have been found in pots. You know, Nag Hammadi scrolls, Egypt, Britain. This is the weird thing, right? British history and records go back way, 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 way further back than Roman ones. I mean, one of the things Flamenco shows, and I've got to do a separate video as a standalone film, if you like. It's not just the flamenco evidence, but it's remarkable. It's built on straw. This whole idea of a Roman Empire and a Roman Britain. There's no ancient extant documents. Everything is only a few hundred years old, with no provenance. And as we just talked about, if you haven't seen last couple of weeks, talking about Gibbon, and a little bit more about it, no one actually has proved anything. They just go round and round in circles, okay? So thank you, Chris. It's a very good point. Then Paul Standing sent me a link to an interesting essay. I haven't put the link up yet. I'll try and add it in description. Talking about Gibbon. Now, it seems I've stumbled on something, just intuitively thinking Gibbon doesn't feel right, and looking at other things you get to know, after a while you get a feel for it. We do so much of this kind of looking at these made-up histories and stuff. You start to think, hang on, this doesn't look right. But people more academic than me have done essays with more detail, and they don't rip him apart, though. This is the weird thing, right? They take the whole thing apart and show how flaky it all is, but no one says, well, therefore, let's check it out. But I think that the eye-opener for me, made the big difference, was the chiroglyphics. It was Wilson and Blackett showing that whatever we're told in school and portrayed, all these stories about Rosetta Stone and everything, they cannot read the hieroglyphs. It can't. It's nonsense. How could it be a proper writing system if it takes decades to learn? You've got to be incredibly clever. You've got to be a university professor, deep training, and even then, if you got a new hieroglyphic text, put it in front of 8 different experts, you would get 8 different translations back. I mean, how can a written language work like that? I'm very worried because cuneiform seems the same as well. You look at Finkelstein, I think his name is. Look at his videos, he's showing off how clever he is, and how he can read cuneiform, and it's taken him 30 years, and even then he has to weigh up possibilities, and it could be 8 different words. The next symbol could be 8 different words, so you end up with this thing, and you couldn't get a feel for it. How can a written language work like that? It's nonsense. It's rubbish. He's a charlatan. I'm going to call him out now. He's a charlatan. Go and have a look at his videos on YouTube and think, how the hell could this work as a written language? Every symbol can mean 8 or 9 different things. Same with hieroglyphs. It's rubbish. It's not done properly. And when you realise how drummed down that is, you start to question everything. Like Robert Shaw's book, Architecture of Power, showing, I noticed it, my own children, if I can remember back that far to when I was in school, one of the first things we learn is the Great Fire of London, started in Pudding Lane. Everyone knows this story. It's nonsense. There's parliamentary reports at the time saying that was nonsense. And it's one of the first things rammed down our necks. And what I've been thinking about, the other thing that's rammed down our necks, even when you go to school or not, is the idea of a Roman Britain. That's just everywhere. And the millions and millions and millions that's spent on places like Caerleon and York and other places where they can show anything to be Roman is huge amounts of money. Why? Why is it so important? I don't know. Why specifically? But I do know that the fact it's happening is a big clue. It's probably not right. It's terrible to start thinking like that. When you see a palace found in Caermead, not far from here, towards Atlantic Major, which they thought might be Roman, they dug it all up. No, it's British. They fill it back in with earth, and there's not even a sign on the field to tell you it's there. And the one a few 20 miles away or 30 miles away in Caerleon, which they think is Roman, has got a multi-million-pound visitor centre and museum. You have to start wondering what's going on, don't you? All right, okay, so apparently this is a little bit... I know we had a lot of Gibbon, so we are going to move on next week, all right? It's the last bit about this, I promise. I sort of promise. There might be a little bit to add, perhaps. Right, so in the 2nd century, the Christian era... Oh, this is the opening lines of Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, okay? So it says, in the 2nd century, the Christian era... So it was a Christian era. The Romans weren't yet Christian. But anyway, hey. I think he means 100 to 200 AD. Anyway, in the 2nd century, the Christian era, the Empire of Rome... I beg your pardon, I do apologise. Backtracking slightly. What I was saying, that area between Claudius and the attempted invasion of Britain, around about 50-odd AD, and then 125, 126 AD, you've got Hadrian doing his treaty with the British at Cardiff, Caerdydd, the town of the agreement. And that's where they seem to have agreed to stop fighting each other. So I'd say for those 70 years, and it's based on Wilson and Blackett's work, it's not me being super clever. I'm just trying to summarise what they've said and just nudge it along a little bit further, okay? So you've got, say, 70 years of fighting and struggle and war, and that matches with the British records talking about, Caradoc and various other leaders like Ariovargus and this kind of thing. And they finally fought themselves to a standstill where it's just not worth Rome's while. They just want the resources. They don't want to keep fighting at enormous cost. So a deal's been done. And not only that, Hadrian hasn't got any descendants who can take over the throne. So this is the point. When he died, it goes over then to British kings. And that's when you get mentioned in here, and other Wilson and Blackett's, Arturius Rex, the British kings running what is the empire. I wouldn't even call it Roman, just the empire. It's run from Britain at this point, so what's Roman about it, okay? What does Roman even mean, anyway? You come from that city, right? There, I'm distracting myself. So you have that period then where the kings and the emperors, or the emperors, have been modelled on the British kings of the time. And looking at various sources, what I would say, it's the strange thing is, you see, if you talk about this with an academic or a professor or something, you'll say, yes, well, that's the British trying to claim Roman history for themselves. And they're just trying to copy Roman history. But that's a biased view. If you look at it, the British records are earlier and more comprehensive. And you got physical evidence. Even the Roman records show that how many of these emperors lived and died in Britain and were married to British wives. I mean, at what point they stopped being Italians. Anyway, so you tend to go more with the British version. And then you see the kings, for the next 100-odd years at least, in Britain being very separate to Rome. And a great example is Llywrig, who around about 156, 160 AD made Britain a Christian country, which is, 160, 170 years before the other British king, Constantine, made Christianity the official religion of Rome. And during that period, there was all sorts of persecutions going on of Christians, which did not happen in Britain, because British kings obviously had enough power to say, no thanks. Diocletian, people like that, who were doing their persecutions. All right, so he starts his book, right, to the frontiers. Right, okay, so we've got this amazing civilization, okay, the most civilized portion of mankind. Says who? The Brits weren't putting people in chambers to watch lions eat them and things. None of my dad's favourite jokes, by the way. My dad had great jokes. And that was, he said, look at that poor little lion over there. He hasn't got a Christian. Oh. Anyway, that's kind of humour. The frontiers of that extensive monarchy were guarded by ancient renown and disciplined valour, although, if you look into it, Roman armies always getting thrashed. The gentle but powerful influence of laws and manners had gradually cemented the union of the provinces. Their peaceful inhabitants enjoyed and abused the advantages of wealth and luxury. Read this mush. The image of a free constitution was preserved with decent reverence. I mean, the Roman Senate appeared to possess the sovereign authority and devolved on the emperors all the executive powers of government. During a happy period between 98 and 180 AD, of more than 80 years, the public administration was conducted by the virtue and abilities of Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, and the two Antonines. It is the design of this and of the two succeeding chapters to describe the prosperous condition of their empire, and afterwards from the death of Marcus Antoninus, to deduce the most important circumstances of its decline and fall. A revolution which will ever be remembered and still felt by the nations of the earth. What a load of gumph, innit? Where does he get these ideas from? What is all this rubbish based on? They're brutal, violent, savage. They were slavers. I mean, the whole economy was based on slavery and bondage and warfare, interest-bearing banking. I mean, this garbage is the view. Where does Gibbon get it from, right? So anyway, here's one of the sources. I went through last time about the different languages. Apparently Gibbon was very fluent in French, so I've looked it up since. So fluent, he sort of even fought in French. But also he's fed his information. This is where it gets interesting, right? And I'd like people in the group to look closer at Jean Mabilon. All right, the names here, you can see Bernard, or Bernard, whatever it is in French, Bernard Montfaucon, or something like that. And Ludovico Muratori, who sounds a bit more Italian to me, because they basically fed him a story. So who are these guys, right? So he's also regarded as having himself accepted the accepted wisdoms of the day, regarding disputed dates and the way in which certain texts should properly be read. You have to remember, this guy never went to school. Or, no, he didn't go to school, really. These subjects didn't exist in those days. He was just some rich boy who was a misfit. He was, what's his name? Paul, sorry. As Paul said, he's the kind of boy who got wedgied at school. You know, he was, he never had a successful relationship in his whole life. He was, unattractive, a misfit, confused, a dreamer, a disaster as a writer. His previous works amounted to nothing. But somewhere on the line, he's been fed this book. And why? Who's fed it to him? Is it through the fact he was a Freemason? Or is it, I think it's more to do with the fact that his story fitted what was required. They just deleted all the British history. They've got to fill the gaps with something and explain why all these buildings and bridges and all this amazing stuff is in Britain when the British are too stupid. So, and this idea that the accepted wisdoms, that just makes me cringe. He's just gone with what people told him. And don't forget, the reason why it's particularly important is Gibbon showed off about, he's venerated as going to primary sources. So anyway, so that being said, I like this. I've edited this together myself a bit from the full paper, taking out a couple of chunks. That being said, this is great, isn't it? More recent and more extensive scholarship involving, in cases, familiarity with languages with which Gibbon was not familiar. So this academic paper picked up on the same themes I did, such as there's no Greek references in it, or German, heaven forbids any Welsh references, or Arabic, because he didn't know the languages. So since then, I love this academic talk. So this familiarity with languages with which Gibbon was not familiar has tended to undermine the authority of some of the sources upon which Gibbon's own historical efforts relied. This is polite speak. This is diplomatic talk for its bullshit. It's saying that Gibbon got it wrong. And apparently this is quite well discussed. Right, so Suzanne Kirch-Honecker, who long continued as a friend of and correspondent with Gibbon, who was herself familiar. So who's she? We'll look into her as well. People like to have a look. I bet she's got a dodgy background as well. And he was herself familiar with many of the classics, expressed the opinion that Roman historian Tacitus, remember now, he is the one most likely to be a fake document, completely forged, 1540s I think he was forged, in Italy for money, and for the, right, that's what I'm going to get back to in a second, expressed the opinion that the Roman historian Tacitus was the model and perhaps the source of much that went into Gibbon's masterwork. Now, one thing I seem to have got slightly backwards, you can still see me, can't you? One thing I seem to get slightly backwards is why these fakes, okay, with these supposed forgeries, where this Italian academic said he's brilliant, he could write ancient Latin better than the ancients could, that was his boast. Incredibly clever, brilliant historian, had sources, knew some stuff, and he seems to have basically invented a lot of the history that's called ancient Rome. Okay, so he's created this. So what you think, well, what kind of mug? This is where I was stupid. I took a while, and thank you to Paul for this, because the penny hadn't quite dropped with me. You think when these rich bankers, the Medicis particularly, were prepared to give him vast amounts of money. I mean, vast amounts. One of these ancient manuscripts he found, like Tacitus or Tacitus, when he found his portfolio and copied it and handed it over, the Medicis paid enough money for him to buy a palace. He had 40 staff. We're not talking about he made a few quid on the side knocking out forgeries. You know, he wasn't like your old, I've got his name now. What was his name? George Cole character. Arthur Daly knocking out dodgy fivers, you know. This was big money. And I thought, why is it? This is where I was a bit slow, okay? I was thinking, why is these bankers, why were they so stupid? Why didn't they say, hang on, I'm not paying you fortunes for this paper that there's no provenance, you don't know who wrote it, where it comes from, no history of the document. It might be a forgery. I'm not just going to hand you the equivalent of millions and millions of pounds. Why would I? This is where I was naive and stupid. They're the ones who wanted the story. I think looking at it more logically and treating people as being intelligent. This is what Alan Wilson has taught me more than anything. When you look at the ancients or anything from history, look at them as intelligent people, not as stupid people, okay? They just came from previous eras. They weren't stupid. Quite the opposite. They had more time and less distractions and really looked at these things. It was in the Medici's interests for this new version of history to be created. They didn't give a damn if it was genuine. They paid for the document. Don't care. You can spend a year and a half, whatever it takes you, produce a history which shows the ancient provenance of Rome and its whole story. And then you get into conjecture, okay? The essay has different ideas about undermining Christianity and different vested interests. I'm not going there, okay? I'm just on the history side. But it does make perfect sense to me that they would pay for the document rather than him saying, hey, look what I found, and they hand over millions. So anyway, I'll just finish this little bit here. There's only a couple of pages of text, all right? It's a Sunday evening. Any emulation of a classical author, and any restatement of excerpts from the classics tended to be welcomed. This is from classical sources, right? Welcomed by the educated public of the day, who were themselves often well versed in the classics, and could experience a certain pleasure in seeing familiar passages that had possibly been obliged to learn by heart, presented within an overall historical context. So if you look at the way the history is put together, I'm going to do more on Scaliger. I need to do a separate Scaliger video. Keep meaning to do that one. And the chronology video. Because I'm starting to get more and more interested in the way chronology was faked than anything. This is the period in which all these ancients, so you're looking at sort of, well, starts in the 1600s, the end of the 1500s. They start raking up and creating this timeline. In case you ever wonder when you're in school, why do we know that Alexander the Great was on 322 BC and Julius Caesar 54 BC, and then it became these, then these, then these? Because Scaliger more or less decided it. He created a ladder with all the key dates on it, and everything just gets hooked on or placed in the holes between the ladder steps. So part of that then was the creation. See, before this period, if you went to school in Britain, England, Scotland, Wales, wherever, you would be taught British history. You'd be taught about migrations from Troy, migrations to the Middle East. You'd be taught about Trojan War, New Troy being founded in London. All these things would be your standard fare. How Britain was founded. You had the three main tribes, the English, the Lloegr, the Cymry, the Welsh, Alban, the Scottish. That was history. And the whole thing got thrown out and had to be replaced. This is why Britain must be the only country in the world which venerates foreign deities and foreign heroes when it comes to things like battleships. HMS Ajax and HMS Achilles, Bellerophon on their SAS jackets, all this kind of thing. Why is that, do you think? Why don't they have the old British heroes? You know, I mean, there is a King Arthur ship, but it's nothing much really. But all these other heroes, like, why don't we all the characters, King Arthur, all the old British heroes, like they should be HMS King Meirig, King Tudrig, King Tydfalt, all the Pendragons. It's not there. And when you take it all out, you've got to replace it with something, which is why these posh people all got taught the classics. And so in the time of Shakespeare, you write a play, you talk about Troy, Troilus and Cressida, plays like that, no problem. Because everyone knows it. It's what you get taught in school. And then, no. And everyone starts learning about the history of the Romans and the Greeks and nothing about the British. So this all ties in because you've got a group of people organising this, they're teaching people the classics, and then Gibbon's come along and he's bungled his way through the classics. He's taken what you would call the accepted view of how to read it, the dating. These French people who I would say are planted somehow have fed him a story. He's a bit of a buffoon. He's cranked it out. Quite a nice writer. Everyone's gone, yeah, this is what we want. This is the book we want. They've invented the whole Roman thing, including Roman Britain, which is going to more and more. Sorry, I've already put that quote up. So the question I want to ask at the bottom, why do we never hear or see scholars saying so and asking for the whole model to be thrown out? That's my question. Why is it they don't just say, rather than say is shaky foundations, when you say it's rubbish, let's go right back to the beginning and decide, was there ever a Roman Empire anything like the one described? Did it invade Britain? To me, it looks increasingly unlikely. And good luck trying to get that through mainstream. So I was going to do a quick one on there. It's 9 o'clock, the Arnie's falling asleep behind me. I got two other boys. But anyway, not really, he says. You had a hard day. You played hard this morning. He's Mr. Clear Out King. Big hits. It's a brutal game. I do video the games and edit them, but it's only for private viewings. It's children. It's a shame. I'd love you to see him. Anyway, so there's Edward Lloyd. He's venerated in particularly in North Wales for saving the language, and he has done a lot of good stuff. And I think he's an unwitting stooge. I also noticed, by the way, how only 49 years old, and it's quite disturbing. Not so much Gibbon, he lived to be 70 odd or something, or about 70. How many really, really important contributors to history die very young. And anyway, another subject, another day. I'm just musing now. But yeah, he was a great linguist, and I have to do this again. And I apologise to all those who've probably seen this 100 times if you're on Facebook and stuff like that. Because all you have to do, because people say, oh, it's rubbish, this idea of the Celts. I've got to bring it up again because people are still arguing about it, okay? So, let's go to Wikipedia. Oop, hang on a second. Wikipedia. Alright, you following me? Edward Lloyd. I don't know how many times I've done this now. Edward Lloyd, there he is. Welsh national historian. Alright, naturalist, sorry, botanist. Read all about his life. Blah, blah, blah. Pretty uneventful, really. Until you get to this bit, pioneering linguist. When people say to you, no, it wasn't invented in the 18th century, this on its own is pretty convincing, okay? Because this is when the term Celtic really started getting used. There's no ancient references to British being Celtic. None. I've been challenging for years now. Lots of academics, there are none. The Britons were the Britons, alright? The Celts were someone else. and we'll go on to in a minute who the Celts were. So in the late 17th century, so we're talking 1680s, 1690s, he went and studied Cornish language and did a great job. I mean, this is, I'm not knocking him, all right? You have to understand this. Fair play to him. He did a great job helping the Cornish language survive. And he did great job as well recording Welsh and helping that get into written form and all that kind of thing, all right? So I'm not attacking him, okay? The bit I want to look at is the bits in blue. So while he's doing all this research, he started to notice linguistic familiarities or families. You can read their version. They word it really strangely. Anyway, I'll read theirs. Lloyd noted a similarity between two linguistic families, Brythonic, otherwise known as P Celtic, which is supposed to be Breton, Cornish and Welsh, and Godoylic, which is Q Celtic, Irish Manx and Scottish Gaelic. He argued that the Brythonic originated in Gaul, France, and the Goidelic in the Iberian Peninsula. He concluded that as the languages were of Celtic origin, those who spoke them were Celts. From the 18th century, people of Britain, Cornwall, Ireland, Isle of Man, Scotland and Wales were known increasingly as Celts. And they are seen to this day as modern Celtic nations. So that is where it started, okay? That's where it comes from. Now, I'm just going to pick it apart in a simple form, if you like, because the first one is this. This is the problem. This is the problem. This, hang on. This is the problem. He concluded he concluded this. It's another way of saying it's an assumption. The big assumption he made was that the languages went from Europe to Britain rather than the other way around. Whereas if you know British history, that's a bit of history I meant to put on tonight. I'll have to put it up for another time, but I think you know it anyway. Where the Britons invaded a whole swathe. Oh no, I've got it ready. I know where it is. My glasses. A whole swathe of northern France, including Brittany, Anjou, a couple of places. I had the page ready in my hand because I was going to do chapter 3 of this book. In the 380s, they colonised it, and there's all sorts of stories then about to preserve the Welsh language, or Brythonic, whatever you prefer. They actually cut out the tongues of the local women that they married. That's the story. So the local women wouldn't pass on their Gaulish or Celtic tongue, wherever it was, to their children. So that's the British language version of it. Why Lloyd had never heard of it, I don't know. Maybe he just wasn't interested. But considering Brittany is called Brittany, after the Britons, and the language is called Breton, after the Britons, you would think it's a Briton language, wouldn't you? So that seems to make perfect sense. But no, and the reason I think I'd like to put this alongside the Gibbon one is that he died very young. I mean, he couldn't have died that much further after the book was written. So it's 1707. I think this book was actually slightly later. And when did he die? 1709, you see. So by the time this book was out and everything, he was almost dead. Or, he's... Pleurisy. Pleurisy in 1709, and this book... did it actually come out? The first volume came out in 1707. So again, I think what's happened here is another... I don't know anything about him. I'm assuming he's honest, decent, and trying his best. But his message fitted. It fitted the narrative. So his ideas became huge and became everything, and everything became Celtic. His book became very famous. He became very famous because he fitted the narrative that was being pushed at the time. Even though if you look at it, it's the other way around, okay? So who really were the Celts? Just very quickly, before we bring this to a close. Hang on a second. Pom 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 pom. So there's a poor old Mr. Lloyd. Oops, sorry, what's happened there? Alright. So if you look at Wilson and Blackett, this is the near... Finding maps of this is quite difficult, because the problem is it's been a sort of... a trope is the dreaded word, isn't it? It's been a sort of accepted fact for a long time that the Celts somehow went all the way up to Britain. There's another difficulty. Even on these maps, you can see... I need the sources for these. An appeal. Someone get me a source which actually shows the ancient Roman idea of the Celts, because the Celtae were down here between these two rivers. Alright, that's where they were. And they did spread up towards Germany, and they got quite bigger. They went up these Rhona and these major rivers here, and spread. But there's all these in the way before they get anywhere near Brittany, even on this sort of mainstream map. All these people are in the way. When's this? 1st century. So they did not... I mean, it's a bit like the Anglo-Saxon thing. They did not, I don't know, genocide all these people or push them into the sea, or how did they suddenly become in Britain? There's people living there. You can't just... There's no story of any invasion or battle or... How did the Celts get to Britain? It's nonsense. There's another map. Which again, you can see all the different tribes and everything. Now, the way it's implied here with a large print that the whole country is Celtica, it's not. The whole country is Gaul. Alright, these are Celtic tribes. It's not saying that all these little tribes here are all Celts. It's very, very misleading. I would say it's deliberately misleading. The Celtica thing should be smaller and down the bottom there. But even going with this, it's still not up in Brittany. Alright, it's not. It's not even the Belgica. Because there are some of southeast England was Belgic, or whatever, Belgae, whatever, beginning with Belg around this area, okay? So that, yeah, quite accepting some of these came across. But they did not change the language of the whole of Britain, completely take it over. It's just nonsense. There's nothing to support it at all. So what frustrates me now is I discuss these things a lot with people on Facebook groups, and I try and have a go at academics and things like that. And they say, oh, well, they're culturally Celtic. And it's like, well, why don't... Or it's become an accepted term. Well, like, okay, well, let's call North Americans Red Indians. Let's call, God knows, obscene words you're not allowed to use anymore about African people. Or, I mean, the Romans are a lot nearer to the Celts than the British are. Why don't we say the Romans are Celtic? What's the difference? Why don't we say the Germans are Celtic? Why not? What difference does it make? If you're going to pick that island over there as being Celtic, when it's not linked, why not pick these guys or these guys or these guys? And it's the same thing with the Basques, because if you look at the British stories, part of the migration route was to drop some people to create a colony in Spain, and that's why the Basque language links. They're on the way into Britain as part of the migrations. All right, so it's here's another one, interesting one showing populations and stuff. And I think my favourite map is next. Oh no, not quite. This is one of my favourite maps. This is on Wikipedia, and I want to get a proper source for it. That's the only problem. It's interesting, Wiki hasn't got much good sources on Celtic maps. They're just kind of just maps. So if anyone out there could help me provide a source map, would be great. I also want them looking like I did have it. For some reason, these things are becoming more and more difficult to find on the internet with Google and Wikipedia and stuff. It was much easier only a couple of years ago, and I wish I'd printed it all off. It was a lesson to all of us. If you find something interesting, print it off and file it, because it can disappear. I'm finding it more and more difficult to find the old articles which to explain who the Celtae were, which is this people here, so northern Spain, and then they slowly splurged. I think this is probably about 4th, 5th century BC, and they splurge out a bit. But certainly nothing to do with Britain, okay? Here's my favourite map, I think. Yay! I love this map. Because I was looking at it, right? And you don't know, everyone knows this is from the front of the Asterix books. Got a bit of fun before we close. And it's quite interesting for a few things. First of all, this map's actually more accurate than most of the mainstream maps. For one, I will tell you why this map is the most accurate, all right? For one, we got Gallienne, the Gauls, right? That's the one in big letters, because this is Gaul, all right? And there's Belgium, so then why we call Belgium, whatever these days. Belgae, Gaul, right? Aquitania down towards Spain and whatever, right? That's actually quite accurate. There's the Celtae down here. This is all Gaul. And what's really fascinating, and it's only struck me the other day, so thank you, I think someone put this map up. I'm not sure what they were thinking. Perhaps they think the same. Send me a message if you were. and I'll put your name up on it. But it struck me, this is pretty much the area that the British did invade and that the Romans couldn't take. It's actually where the British beat the Romans. And I do apologise because someone in the Facebook group, not me, pointed out that I hate taking credit for other people's observations, right? So I'll put the name up. Armorica here, look. Well, it's curious because when you go through the Arthur stories and everything, King Arthur is supposed to have gone to Armorica, which generally, is this Brittany kind of area, and that's where the British court was when the comet struck Britain and it was uninhabitable. And you can see that is the area. I mean, it's interesting it's on this map as well. And then you've got this kind of the area which the Romans got their butts kicked. And again, you see the normal Lornica armour and all this kind of thing. And I love the Asterix cartoons. The artwork, I mean, when I was... when people say when I was younger, we were always younger. Anything happened in the past, you were younger, all right? Unless you weren't born yet. So I used to spend a lot of my time drawing the Asterix cartoons. They're great. Learning how to draw hands. Caricatures are brilliant. So I'm a big fan. And this always makes me chuckle because that's kind of the British area there. And I reckon there's a joke in here somewhere in these names. People want to have a little thing about it. I think it's a German version, isn't it? You're just looking at it. Galicia's Imhoff, Kleinbonum. I need to get the English version out, or the original French, Belgian version will be best. So there we go. There's one to think about. Is there a clue here? And also another thing to think about. When we talk about Arthur going to Armorica, we also went to America. So where's the name America come from? Because it certainly ain't the bloke you find on Wikipedia, because that's his first name. And you don't use first names to name places unless you're a king or royalty, which he wasn't. So I've always gone with Ap Merrick, the map maker who had the original Welsh maps. And there are documented letters from Mercator to Ap Merrick asking for his maps, which could be the source of the name America, or has it come from this? It says in Armorica. So is Armorica actually over in America? Or do they use the same name for similar reasons? Like, I think it was a similar example. I can't really. Like a name for a province. I tell you a good example is good old Alexander, was Alexandria. It just keeps naming it the same everywhere. So there we go. I'm going to roll things up tonight now. 9:15. Well done. On time. See, if I didn't put that in, I would have forgotten, all right? So let's have one last look just to see if we got any last minute. 1, 2, 2, 4. It's like the old red nose appeal. Hey, I think it's good.
Someone's donated.
£10. There we go. Mark Austin, thank you. Look at that. David Turner, £100. Heidi Wrightser, £100. Wow. I hope people aren't embarrassed by me putting them up. I mean, these people deserve some recognition. And if you want to be anonymous, you could be anonymous. There are some anonymous ones, so I hope I'm not upsetting anybody, especially as they're the most generous donators. So thank you very much. All these names are going on a special piece of artwork I'm going to produce. And there we are. There's loads of people you'll see from the channel. So thank you very much indeed. And there's lots more people donated, and it's great. Even if you do it, £5, brilliant. Because as I always say, we've got 47 people contributing. We got 700-800 people watching these videos every week. So it's only 1 in 20 or something. My ideal world would be all of us. We've got 2,000 people on the channel now. If everyone gave £1, we wouldn't even notice it gone, and we got £2,000, and we can sort these old boys out. As I always say, let's have a little from lots rather than lots from a little. But there you go. Thank you very much indeed for that. And I will report back and let you know how that goes in the next couple of weeks. So look out, like I say, during the week, or very soon, it's going to be that, the Babylonian gods in Wales, that video with Jonathan Swift and all that kind of thing from Wilson and Blackett's work. Thank you to Patricia for transcribing from, type notes into something we can actually use as a Word document. And I spent ages doing the graphics and that, so if people say, yeah, graphics are great, but I watched it anyway, or it doesn't make any difference, and no, probably won't bother, I'll just do more videos. It's always a trade-off, isn't it, between quality and quantity. And my best friends, who I haven't seen for a while now, David Cook, He always used to say you could have any time is a good lesson for life, all right? Oh, I got to do an Alan Wilson one for life first, which was never worry about the things you haven't got. Enjoy the things you have, which I quite like. I seem to get in a t-shirt. Yeah, my mate David Cook, anyway, he always used to say he works in civil service and he's hilarious. Very dry humour. And he always said, whenever you're ordering something, and I think it applies to all walks of life, there's 3 things you can have, all right? You can have top quality, you can have really fast, or you can have really cheap. Okay? And anytime you do a project or a contract or anything, it's a good idea to say to people, they're the 3 things. Really high quality, really fast, really cheap. You can have any 2 but not 3. Which 2 do you want? And it's like that with these videos. Because if I spend loads and loads of, it's not fast. If I do the quality and the cost, the opportunity cost and other things it could be doing is huge. So anyway, I quite like that. Let me have a look at the closing comments then. Up you go, Arnie B. You going to play us a song out?
Sure.
Is it one I can sing or no? Thank you for all the work. It's mostly the Babylonians in Wales. Yeah, please, and suggest videos. Wilson and Blackett have got tons and tons and tons of work. If you're new to their work, go to cymroglyphics.com. You'll see the books. It goes all the way from the dawns of time. We've got a book coming out soon, hopefully, about why and how religions began. That's how far back it goes. Thousands of years. All the way through Babylonians, Egyptians, the migrations, the Hebrews, Jews, Hebrews, every term you prefer, up through the Middle East, the history of the Etruscans, how to read Phrygian, how to read Etruscan, how the Bible history and Jesus and the Romans is all messed up, Roman British history is messed up, the ancient star maps you can see on the hills with the mounds. It's hard just to remember all the subjects. Each subject they cover could be like a 3-year university degree. It is vast. Vast, vast, vast. And that's before we even get into the British history and King Arthur and Arthur 1, Arthur 2 and all that good stuff. It really is enormous. So if there's areas you want to see talked about in the show or videos made or just ask questions, please do. Please do it in the comments. But still send me a message and I'll try and stick them up. What we got here, right? Patricia, 7 Gaulish tribes. Livy, right? Livy talks about, there we are, 7 Gaulish tribes settled in Cisalpine Gaul around 600 BC. Led by Bellovesus, they defeated the Etruscans at the Ticino. Settled in Serbia, found the city of Mediolanum, modern Milan. No. Trying to figure out how to donate. I love your channel. Well, thank you very much, Paula. That's very nice of you. You can either click, let's say, on that Chimney appeal, or we could do a transfer or something. The money will all go to them anyway. It's a bit sensitive information, but I'm very proud of. I don't know if I'm about to publish it or not. I check with them on the legalities. But between us, and it's a team effort. It's not me. We raised quite a few thousand for Wilson and Blackett last year, which makes a big difference, man, because they're living in almost squalor up there. It's disgraceful. All right, question for Alan. Where does the beaker culture fit into the migration history? Okay. As you said, Alan, I will ask Alan. I think, well, I don't know what Alan thinks. That's not for me to say. That's for him to say. My view is the whole thing about beaker culture is a load of nonsense. There you go. It's like, say, imagine you had the Coke can culture. Everywhere you find a Coke can, you assume it's the same people. It's basically what you're doing. I mean, just because that beaker moves around, maybe it's a trade good, maybe people have copied it. There's a million reasons why those beakers appear in more than one place. And also, where they started, no one knows. Most of the beakers seem to be found in Britain. Where they're supposed to come from, I don't know, La 10 or whatever, all that. I think that whole theory is a load of nonsense. Say, for example, I've got a... not being rude to you, by the way, it's just my view on it. Because it's one of these things that started in the 60s, this whole beaker culture, La 10, this kind of stuff. Hallstatt. All the same sort of idea. If people aren't aware, the basic idea is if you find similar... By the way, I love questions during the show, so... If you see similar cultural artifacts in different places, you can assume they're the same people. It's ridiculous. So everywhere...
Yeah, you need to turn on the super chats.
Oh, donate to us, but no, don't worry about that. That's okay. Thank you very much. You can become a patron if you like. That's very generous of you to ask, but don't worry. There is a Patreon. If you go to patreon.com, look at Britain's Hidden History, one word. But you've been so generous with the appeal to fix Wilson and Blackett's house up. I'd like to ask for any more money at the moment. So, and I also have some really cool donations from people as prizes for competitions as well. So we're going to be doing that soon. We've got another sword. And I'll have a look through. So we got some lovely stuff. Handmade things. That's what we like. Okay, right. So we have to go now. So thank you very much. I'll leave the chat open for another 10 minutes so people can talk to each other. I hate coming to the end of the programme. I really enjoy this every Sunday. Let's have a look. Therefore, one sees Celtic, Northern Italy, also called... Oh, it's Patricia again. Oh, great. If you can put that together. The beakers came from Syria. Yeah, maybe they're just beakers. I don't know. One example I give is that... all right, just a little bit of background on this. The only real proper archaeology done in South East Wales... I can't see the book. Anyway, it's called A Search of the Silurius, and I've forgotten his name from it. Oh my gosh, I'm doing very well today. Where is it? No. I had the book out a couple of days ago. He makes a very good point in there. The shape of a container is more to do with what's being moved than the people making it. So, I mean, in very ancient times and modern times. So, for example, there was a lot of trade of, I think it was salt from the Midlands down to South Wales. And there's a certain shape of container, keeps the salt dry and stops it getting all yucky and mouldy and stuff. So that would be a certain type of vase. And when I did my chats with Rick, talking about American, the Romans, Europeans, let's give it Romans for now, would put wine in amphora, which is a certain shape, which gives you the maximum storage with a minimum air access and makes it easy to pour and all that kind of stuff. So if you're trading, say I'm trading my wine with your salt, I'm sending you amphoras and you're sending me salt containers. Now I might find another use for the salt containers and fill them up with something else and send those back to you. You might find another use for the amphora and send them on to somewhere else. So these jars are moving around based on their function rather than there's only one people. Certain people only make them, and if someone else makes them, they must be the same people. It's bonkers logic when you think about it. I don't know how people get away with these ideas. It just seems mad. I just don't get the whole beaker thing at all. Anyway, thank you very much for all the kind comments. Hi to me a week. Yes, life is boring at the moment. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yes, Suzanne. We'll try and make it more interesting. I'll have to do more of these than once a week. And there's so much coming out. I think I don't have much feedback, but I think the premieres are going to be good fun. I'll try and do at least one of those every week during the week. And I'll join in the chat as well. We can chat in the comments. And it runs live. And hopefully we can enjoy that as well, okay? Right, okay. So thank you very much. I really have to go. Get your fiddle out, buddy. What are you going to give us on? He's almost asleep there, isn't he? He's going to say, no, I'm not. We can see you on the camera, mate. You just came onto the corner. As you were studying the ceiling.
No, I was watching.
Yeah, I know. He's watching F1. Yeah, I know. He's fascinated, hanging on to every word of your dad in it. Your dad droning on.
Got it open and everything.
Yeah. Okay, don't worry. I'm only teasing. You've done well today. You've done very well today. Don't worry. And the thing, by the way, I am reading at the moment. I would like everybody, if we're going to do homework, if we're going to prep, all this ties in with the Mabinogi, all right? There's stuff about the stars and the Babylonian gods, all that kind of stuff in Wales. This has got to be done. It's really, really important. I've been reading children's version of the Mabinogi as bedtime stories.
The Mabinogion.
Or the Mabinogion, the children's version of it. And they're really weird stories. But then what I do then is study Alan Wilson and Blackett's work to see what it all means in planetary terms. And then it's great stuff. So I'm finding that's becoming my favourite part of the study. I never thought it would be. I've never been interested in the Mabinogion particularly. So if you'd like to read up on that, you will be up on the game. What I'd like to talk about next week, because it all ties together. And I've also got Stephen Willips come back from his winter retreat, man, where he goes like meditating for weeks and weeks. Isn't it, Steve? I'm not sure if he ever watches this far into the video, so I can say this, and I'll know if he's seen it. And I'm going to see him in a week and a bit. And special hello to Sian, who hasn't been very well lately. And I'm going to go and see her as well. I'm going to see some new fabulous star maps and all that. I got so much videos to edit, so much to do, and right now I have to go to bed. So thank you very much, everybody. And my deepest of my hearts, it's just wonderful that we do this every week, and so many people keep coming back, and it makes me feel great. I'm very blessed in this world. So God bless to all of you as well. Till the next time. Heddwch. Oh, you haven't played your bit on. Sorry.
What should I play?
Anything on? Come on. I've just shut the show down. Hang on. Sorry. Sorry, Arm. We're gonna see. Can't see you, mate. What are you playing?
That's the one you usually play at the end of the show. What should I play then?
Oh, come on, inspiration. Where's a suggestion, people? Well, let's test him. It's got to be one he knows, obviously, or heard. So you want to suggest a song quickly? Night, Night, Maestro, please. Come on, one you might know. Kundalini. Oh, yeah, I see I'm out of my depth and all that kind of stuff. Ah, don't worry about that. It's all to do with, oh my God, Kundalini, the spine and yoga and all sorts of things.
Is that a song?
It's not a song, no. Do you know, that's a good night song. Do you know, Archidenos? All Through the Night?
I think so.
La 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 la.
No,
Oh, that's a shame. That'd have been perfect. So I'm feeling a bit tired as well. I've had a long day as well now. Yeah, All Through the Night. John Griffiths, that's amazing. That's an amazing, that comment came up. Almost exactly the same point Bryce said it. What about, play the one you played earlier again. Come on, Arnie B.
Again?
Well, you know, a little Welsh one.
Play it faster.
Play it faster. Hey, very good, very good, very good. I'll tell you what I'll do for next time. Well done, Arn. Very good. If someone said there, sing some Welsh rugby songs. Now that could be a very dangerous game. That can, because I know quite a few, which are definitely not for a Sunday evening, for a family-friendly show, which this always is. All right, everyone's very friendly on here, and the subjects might get serious, but we can do it with a smile. But I'm thinking, how many people out there know Max Boyce? Because I'm gonna do some. I think I'll do some Max Boyce, Archidenos, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I've got to go now, and thank you very much indeed. Can talk all night, and we'll do it again soon. So once again, North Star again. Good night to all.